This episode of Dreams and Drive is brought to you by Olay Body. I'm loving the Olay Body exfoliating and moisturizing body wash because you don't have to worry about that oily coated feeling or harsh feeling exfoliation because this body wash rinses off clean and is gentle enough for everyday use. Olay Body, fearless in my skin. Hey Dream Drivers, welcome to episode 271 of the Dreams and Drive podcast. This past week was Father's Day, and I wanted to do a quick episode about the 5 lessons that my Jamaican dad has taught me about dream driving, about life. If you guys have been following the show that you know, my dad is a big inspiration for me. He's always somebody in my life who has really pushed me to be a dreamer. I feel like he was one of the first dreamers that I've known who's always talked about these things that he wanted to do. And just, being the one to come to America from Jamaica, he kind of had to put a lot of his own dreams on hold. So he's always been this person who's very wise in his sayings. If you know my dad, you know that he loves to come up with sayings and he loves to give you advice on what he thinks you should be doing with your life. So I wanted to just kind of compile some of the things that he's taught me and share them with you all. Before we get into today's episode, though, please, if you enjoy this episode, please make sure you're sharing it with your community. You guys, I really appreciate it when you are posting on Instagram, screenshotting the show, and just sharing in general how you're consuming it and what you're enjoying about it. This one is a bit personal for me, so please take time to share it with your communities. If you want to join our online newsletter and get weekly updates via email, just go to dreamsanddrive.com/join. That's dreamsanddrive.com/join. Remember, you can also follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Dreams and Drive. We're also on YouTube, so make sure to subscribe to us there and subscribe wherever you're listening to this episode right now so that you get notifications every time we have a new episode. I want to know, who do you want to hear from on the show? What types of content do you want to see? Let me know. Engage with me on social media. I am very active on Instagram, especially. I respond to DMs. So let me know what you're thinking about. Let me know what you're enjoying about these few episodes. Getting feedback really helps me tailor the show to your needs and things that will be helping you guys along your dream driving journey. All right, so where do I want to start with this episode? So let's start with another thing about my dad I could say is that he is somebody who will never give you a straight answer about anything. So the other day, I asked him, I'm like, what's your biggest life lesson? What's something that you really have learned about life? I was thinking about this episode that I was going to do it, but I wanted to hear from him first what his biggest life lesson is. And here's what he had to say.
The ability to work and think for myself.
And why is that your biggest life lesson?
Because it empowers me.
How does it empower you to work and think for yourself?
Because I have control over what I do and how I think.
Why is that so important for you?
Because if no one has control over how they think and how they approach or do work, then they're subservient to others.
So there, guys, you have it. There goes my dad. That's a lesson that he taught me from the jump. I think what you'll hear from that is this ability to think for yourself is something that my dad really always drilled into us. So the first lesson I learned from him is you are the driver of your life, right? And it's an important privilege. Don't waste it. Being a dream driver, being able to sit in that driver's seat in your own life is something that not a lot of people have, or it's not that a lot of people don't have it. I think a lot of people aren't aware of it, that you are the driver of your life, the driver of your dreams. So what are you going to do with it, right? And I think this kind of leads me to number 2 lesson from my dad is you can never be bored, right? My dad used to hate when my sisters and I would say we're bored. He just was like, I don't understand how you could ever be bored. And if you're an immigrant a child of an immigrant, you may have heard this story about how they had all this stuff to do before they used to have to go to work, and how he used to have to like walk 18 miles across mountains and valleys and spitting lava volcanoes, all this stuff just to get to school. They have to come home and feed the pigs and do all this other stuff. And he's just like, we didn't have time to be bored. There was always something to do. And when we were bored, we were always thinking of things to do. And so for me, this idea that you can never be bored, there's always inspiration around you. As long as you have a brain, you're never alone. As long as you have your thoughts, you're never alone. There's always something that you can do. And if you don't have anything physical to do, let your mind do the thinking, taking things around you. There's so much to explore about the world. And my dad, he's a professional. He was a mechanical engineer. So for him, he was always thinking about how to make things work, how to tinker with things. And I think I got that from him. This idea of seeing the world as a canvas for possibility. There's always possibility. That's also why my dad is somebody who can be hard to ask questions to, because his answers are never straight. And his response is, why do you always want a straight answer? Why do you always want a yes or no? Sometimes, these definites don't always exist. And so having him teach us as young kids that this idea that boredom is not real, it's something that you succumb to, and you don't ever have to succumb to that, has really played an important role in who I am today and how I see life. I don't know if that makes me a busybody. I don't know if that makes me not able to just sit with myself sometimes. I don't ever want to be bored. I think there's a difference between being all right with doing nothing than coining that term as being bored, right? It's all right to do nothing, but don't say that you're bored. Or if you are bored, figure out what can you do to excite, to inspire, to be creative, to do something again, to get that mind of yours moving, to stay encouraged, to stay elevated. There is power, and that goes back to number one. You have the ability to speak for yourself, to think for yourself, to do for yourself. Do something with it. Get in the driver's seat of your car and do something. So let's go to number 3, right? My dad was very, very big on paying attention to details. He used to always tell me, so as a kid, I hated washing the dishes, and I would always rush to wash the dishes. And he would always call me back and say, Raina, why did you rush? Because you're just going to have to come back. Get it right. Give it your best the first time. Stop rushing. Pay attention to the details, right? You're over here washing this plate really quickly. You didn't realize there was a little piece of rice stuck to the right. If you had just taken your time and really worked through things, then you wouldn't always have to come back to fix these mistakes that you could have seen if you were paying attention to details from the beginning. And I think that's something that when we think about life, I think a lot of us are trying to rush through it, trying to, avoid the work. But in that rushing, there's so much that not damage that you can do, but in that rushing, sometimes you have to come back and just do things over and over and over again. So take your time, be a little slow, be a little bit meticulous in the beginning, because that's going to make things aware to you that you may not have been aware about if you were rushing the entire time. So thank you, Daddy, for always teaching me that, because it's something that I definitely still remember and think about whenever I'm faced with something. Hey, dream drivers, as a new mom, my shower time is also much needed me time and self-care time. It's one of the few spaces to get those must-have moments for mind and body. Plus, feeling my best helps me reach my fullest potential for the day. When you look good, you smell good, you are ready to do good. That's why I love Olay Body Exfoliating and Moisturizing Body Wash with sugar, cocoa butter, and vitamin B3. Some of the things I love about this product is that it's made with cocoa butter, which feels ultra nourishing to your skin. Also, you don't have to worry about the oily coated feeling or harsh feeling exfoliation, because this body wash rinses clean and is gentle enough for everyday use. Plus, you can have a lot of trust that this product works. Olay's 65 years of beauty science is incorporated into this product with body care designed by skin experts to improve the look and feel of your skin from head to toe. You definitely need to give these Olay body washes a try. They completely changed how I thought about my body care routine in my shower. As I said, shower time is precious, so I invest in the best. You can find Olay body products in store or online. Olay Body, fearless in my skin. Growing up, your parent dynamics are very important. So I feel like my mom was more of like the hype one, and then my dad was more of the calm one. Like, if you got him mad, you knew he was very disturbed or very angry. But my dad never really got outwardly mad quick and often. So one of the things that he used to always teach us when we were younger is this ability to stay calm, and the calm ones can see through the foggy storm, or sometimes the calm ones, they're taken more seriously at times. Now, I think there's a time and place for everything. There are some things where you do not need to be calm about. There are some times you need to raise your voice. Your voice needs to be heard. You need to be adamant. You need to be persistent. You need to let people know that you're there and what you have to say matters. But I do think there is power in being able to control how you respond to people, because whose voice is heard first, right? Although you might hear the person who's angry voice first, sometimes the person who's calm is taking words are actually received. And even as a kid, like when something would happen to us, he would always like calm us down and be like, all right, think about what's happening right now. And think about, what is getting upset going to actually do for you? Is it going to get you the result that you want, right? Let's be calm. Let's think about it. Let's think about our options. Let's think about what we can do, how we can fix things. Even, with raising my son now, I really love how he's always telling me, like, if he does something, you don't have to yell at him. You don't have to scream at him, but you can show him what he should do, and you have to remain calm, because your kid is going to pick up on your vibes and your energy, and your kid is going to model the behavior. So if you want your kid to be calm, you also have to remain calm. And that's something that I really appreciate, and just having that in my life growing up and figuring out how that would work for me and show up for me as an adult. All right. And lastly, guys, the last lesson that my dad taught me about dream driving, about life, my Jamaican dad, as the title of this episode says, is this idea of, if you think you can't, you can't, right? And if you think you can, you can. All right. So if you keep going around and saying, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this, and you never will. I remember when I was thinking about accepting this job and just doing the whole interviewing process and just thinking about Axel and how my life was changing, I was really down on myself and very negative. And my dad would be like, you need to really think about what you're telling yourself, because if you think you can't do it, then you can't do it. Now, is that what you want, right? You have to dream big. You have to go hard. You have somebody who's here for you. You need to think really, really big, and you need to think about what it is that you're telling yourself, and know that all that negative stuff isn't true. You can be anything. It's really like the whole thing. You could put your mind to it. And if you put your mind to it, you can do it. That definitely is like my dad. I do think that sometimes, I think with any Caribbean parent, the dreams you have for yourself, sometimes you're like, are you sure about that? But at the same time, he's also like, if you're going to do it, go hard, give your best, do your best, and see where it will take you. So if you think you can, you can. And that's the only thought that you should have, is that you can, that it will work out. This very positive thinking. And it's funny because a lot of times people will tell me, Raina, you're always so optimistic. And I think I get that optimism from my dad. A lot of times it's like, it may not be good right now, but it'll work out. It'll work out. It'll work out. It will work out. Do you see where I went? Like, I went from that doubt to being confident. With my sisters and I, my dad did not play that whole comparison game, that whole you're not good enough. No, you're good enough and you will do it and you will be the best and you will figure it out. That's definitely a trait about how he raised us that I think he did very well. Now that I have a son, I really hope that I'm able to instill in him these lessons. I'm not his father, but as a mother, I definitely hope that there are things about the confidence I give him, the love I give him, these baseline things that will lay as a foundation for who he is, his personality, and how he views the world. So this is what I wanted to share with you guys. This is these episodes may not seem like a lot, but I do think they're a lot. I think that you can reflect on people in your life and the lessons they've taught you and how that translates to who you are now. Maybe the lessons they've tried to teach you that you haven't really accepted fully. Maybe they're negative lessons that you've had to rework. You've had to reparent yourself. You've had to realize that these don't have to be true for me any longer. So I would really encourage anyone listening in here now to just take some time to reflect on lessons learned, things learned from people in your life, and how you can make sure that you're remembering these lessons, that you're paying attention to how these lessons show up for you, and if they're still relevant. And be afraid to tweak things, right? You know, people who are teaching us lessons, there are things about my dad who is not a perfect man, but I do think there's always something that we can learn from people that we love and people who love us. So if you enjoyed this episode, if you felt like there was something to share, if you feel like someone needs to hear these lessons again, I'm going to give you a quick recap, right? Number one, you are the driver of your life, and it's an important privilege. Do not waste it, right? Number two, you can never be bored. There is inspiration all around you. Number three, pay attention to the details and give it your best the first time. Stop rushing through it, because when you rush through it, you miss things that you'll eventually have to go back to. Number four, stay calm. The calm one can see through the foggy storm. I'm telling you, calmness can give you perspective that anger cannot. Although anger can give you perspective, although frustration, although all those other feelings can give you perspective, I do think remaining calm and remaining confident that you can figure it out is very important. And number five, if you think you can't, you can't. If you think you can, you can. So always think you can, dream drivers. Always think you can. Remember that you can do it. Remember that you are able. Remember that you are in the driver's seat of your life, like we said in the beginning. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure that you're sharing it with your community. Screenshot it right now. Tag it on Instagram stories, Twitter, Facebook, wherever you're listening. Share it with someone. Send it to someone via text message, via email. Say, listen to this. Listen to this. There may be something in here for you, or there may be something that you can reflect about or reflect on about the people in your life and what they've taught you. If you want to get our weekly newsletter, the keys via email, just go to dreamsanddrive.com/join. That's dreamsanddrive.com/join. If you want to get a Dreams and Drive t-shirt to wear, swag out this summer with, you can always shop our online store, dreamsanddrive.com/shop. That's dreamsanddrive.com/shop. And last but not least, guys, if you want to donate to the show, there are multiple ways to do so. Just go to dreamsanddrive.com/donate. That's dreamsanddrive.com/donate to get options. All right, keep dreaming, keep driving, and we shall chat again in episode 272. Bye, guys.